So you've said to yourself all day, tonight I'm going to be really good and I'm not going to eat that ice cream that's in the freezer. You come to the end of the day, sitting in front of the TV, and the next thing you know, you look down and you finished off the entire carton of ice cream. What has just happened? So the next day you say, today I'm not going to eat any ice cream. And yet again that night, once again, you're staring at the empty bottom of an ice cream container. What is going on here? So I plan on answering just that for you today. Hi, my name is Tamara Reese and I specialise in coaching people to not just lose weight, but to master it forever. Now, because I want you to not just intellectualise what I'm going to share with you today, but to actually experience it, I would like to make sure that you don't think about a white bear. I don't want you to think about a large white bear or a cute little white bear. In fact, I don't want you to think about any white bear at all. How are you going so far? So I'm not really being very fair. I've been talking about white bears, I've been showing you pictures of white bears, so you have to think about them. So to make this much fairer, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to give you 10 seconds of thinking music, and if you want to also close your eyes so that you can fully focus, you can go ahead and do that too. Your only task is to not think about a white bear at all for 10 seconds. Try as hard as you can. Use all the willpower you have and try to not think about any white bear at all for the next 10 seconds. Are you ready? Let's start now. So how did you go? Did you successfully stop any thoughts of white bears from entering your mind? If you're like the majority of us, trying not to think about a white bear makes it much more likely that you will. In other words, it's a strategy that guarantees failure. And as you're going to discover, as research shows, this phenomena plays a central role in why it is that you can't get yourself to stop eating that food. Now, this white bear experiment comes from the late Daniel Wegner, who was professor of psychology at Harvard University. And in his study, he and his colleagues asked people to make sure that they don't think about a white bear for 5 full minutes. And that's 30 times longer than the short 10 seconds that we just tried. So what Wegner discovered was that, unsurprisingly, people couldn't suppress thoughts of a white bear. What was surprising, though, was that even after the experiment was over, even when people could think about whatever they wanted, people ended up thinking about white bears far more than they would have normally. So, in other words, the act of trying to suppress a thought actually made it more stronger, more tenacious, more frequent, and more enduring even when the experiment was over. This phenomena that Wegner called thought suppression has been shown over and over again in the scientific literature. For example, in another study, when golfers were told not to overshoot, that's exactly what they were likely to do. And in a different study with soccer players, when they were instructed to not think of a penalty shot in a certain direction, they couldn't help stop their eyes from looking at that forbidden spot. Ironically, the very act of trying to suppress a thought actually makes it much more likely that we'll get to have it. Why does this happen? Why does the white bear effect exist? In order for us to not think about something, some part of our brain has to think about it, which ironically keeps the thought alive. And this is especially true when we're under what's called mental load. Now, mental load means that your conscious mind is working really hard. It can come from having a lot on your mind or from engaging in a difficult mental task, from being distracted, and it can come from stress and anxiety. So how does this relate to eating at night? I'll get to that in one moment. But first, if you've been enjoying this video so far, then hit that like button so that I know to produce more videos like this one. Thanks so much. One of the most natural responses in trying to lose weight is to try to fight against any thoughts of the food. And this is incredibly natural, intuitive thing to do. And what are some ways that we try to fight thoughts about food? We try to ignore them, forget them, debate them, distract ourselves, or in other words, we try to suppress them. It's a totally natural response. However, because of the white bear effect, most times it doesn't work in getting you to not eat the ice cream, the chips, or the chocolate alone. So what do you do instead? Real change in your eating patterns comes from real, lasting shifts in your emotions. When you feel confident, happy, calm, safe, secure, in control in the very situations when you used to feel an urge to eat the food, then your thoughts automatically shift and there's no need to try and fight with them. If you want to learn how to stop eating at nighttime, then check out this video that I made on this topic.